He makes you laugh. He keeps things light. He never takes life too seriously. At first, it's charming, even healing. You think, maybe this is what it feels like to be carefree again. But then something doesn't add up. You're doing the emotional heavy lifting. You're the one thinking ahead. And every time you try to bring up something deeper, he flinches, jokes, or disappears. It's like trying to grow roots on a cloud. Have you ever met a man who seems allergic to depth, who avoids responsibility with the grace of a dancer, who wears charm like armor, immaturity like perfume? That's not just behavior. It's a mask. And behind it, Jung says, is something much darker, a wounded boy who never came home. Let's take off the smile. Let's look at the man-child in the mirror. Carl Jung didn't call him a man-child, but he knew this figure well. He called him the puer aeternus, the eternal boy, a man who refuses to grow up. Not because he wants freedom, but because he fears death. The death of fantasy, the death of ego, the death of the boy he used to be. He clings to possibility. He avoids permanence. He wants love, but only if it doesn't demand depth. He wants admiration, but not responsibility. He lives on the edge of becoming, but never becomes. Underneath his charisma is a quiet panic. Growing up feels like giving up. Committing feels like confinement. Being seen feels like being judged. So he crafts a persona, Jung's word for the social mask. Playful, easygoing, spontaneous. But it's not who he is. It's who he needs to be to keep the truth from surfacing. And the truth is this: he never learned how to be a man, not because he's evil, but because he was never initiated. There was no father figure strong enough to challenge him, no rite of passage that required sacrifice, no mirror that showed him his own shadow. So he remains a boy, in a man's body, playing at life, avoiding the fire that would forge him. Do you recognize this pattern? In someone you love, in yourself? It's easy to laugh it off, to say, he's just young. But this is not about age, it's about arrested development. A soul paused in time, a psyche still holding its breath. And what hides beneath that breath is pain. Because here's the paradox: the man-child seems free, but he's not. He's enslaved to his unhealed wounds, and until he turns inward, until he faces the fire, he will keep smiling, keep joking, keep running, but he won't grow. So next time you meet a man who never takes anything seriously, ask yourself, is he truly light-hearted, or is he afraid of the dark? Jung once said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. The man-child lives this truth. He builds a life of distraction, because silence would expose the wound. But what happens when the distractions stop working? What happens when the mask cracks? That's where we're going next, into the shadow, where the real boy is waiting, still crying for the father who never came. He seems happy. He laughs easily. He talks like nothing bothers him. But if you watch closely, there's a tremble in his stillness. He avoids silence like it's haunted. And it is. Silence is where the shadow speaks. Jung said that each of us carries a darkness we refuse to face. For the man-child, this darkness is not just fear, it's history. It's what he never said, what he never received, what he had to bury just to survive. And what's buried never stays buried for long. The shadow in Jungian psychology is everything we suppress. The shame, the anger, the weakness, the unmet needs. The man-child doesn't see his shadow. He lives it. He becomes passive-aggressive, or emotionally distant, or explosively defensive. He mocks seriousness because it scares him. He stays in control by pretending he doesn't care, but beneath the detachment is a cry for help, a hunger to be seen, to be fathered, to be told, "You're not weak for feeling this." He was never taught how to process emotion. He was told to toughen up, or laughed at when he cried, so he learned to bury it, smile instead, numb instead, perform instead. And yet the pain leaks through, in failed relationships, in addictions, in avoidance disguised as freedom. This is the shadow, not as a monster, but as a wounded child hiding in a grown man's body. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." The man-child thinks he's choosing his life, but really he's repeating it, repeating the same loops, same patterns, same escapes, because no one ever showed him how to go inward. There is no growth without confrontation. The shadow doesn't go away because you ignore it. It waits, it watches, it sabotages. But if you turn toward it, really turn, something changes. You stop pretending. You stop performing. You begin to heal. The man-child doesn't need more praise. He needs initiation. He needs to walk into the darkness and name what lives there. What happens when he does? When he finally faces the boy inside? That's where we go next. To the wound itself. To the place where the boy got stuck and why he never left. You see it in the way he looks around the room, searching for something he can't name. You hear it in the way he laughs too loud, too long, like he's trying to drown something. And if you ask him about his childhood, he shrugs, says, "It was fine." But silence hides grief, and avoidance hides absence. The man-child wasn't just hurt, he was abandoned. Not always by violence, sometimes worse, by absence. An absent father isn't just someone who left, it's someone who never arrived. And without that presence, a boy doesn't grow. He floats. Every boy looks to his father for one thing: the mirror. Not the kind that reflects a face, the kind that reflects strength, direction, identity. Without that mirror, a boy cannot see himself. He becomes unsure, unanchored, unsure if he's enough, unsure how to stand. Carl Jung believed that the absence of the father archetype leaves a wound not just in the boy, but in the structure of the psyche. The father archetype teaches boundaries, responsibility, authority. Without it, a boy never internalizes limits, never knows how to say no, or when to stop chasing pleasure. So the man-child seeks father figures everywhere, coaches, bosses, even women. But nothing sticks, nothing satisfies, because what he truly needed wasn't just a role model, it was a rite of passage. He needed a fire to walk through, a man to say, "You're not a boy anymore, you've earned your name." But no one came, so he stayed a boy, waiting, hoping, playing adult in a world that demands something he was never given. Do you feel this in your own life? That quiet resentment, that confusion, that hunger to be led, and the shame of still needing it? Jung said, "The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parent." Sometimes the father was there, but not whole, not grounded, not healed, not alive in himself. So the son inherited not strength but shadows, not wisdom but weight. And he carries that weight into manhood, into marriage, into fatherhood, repeating what he swore he'd never become. Because we don't become who we want to be. We become what was shown. And if nothing was shown, then nothing becomes clear. The man-child doesn't just miss his father. He misses who he could have been if someone had shown him how. But the father may never come, not in the form he wished. So he must become his own father, his own guide, his own ground. It's not fair, but it is necessary. There's a boy inside, still waiting to be chosen, still waiting for someone to say, "You matter, you're ready, you're enough." That someone has to be him. And when he says it, when he chooses himself, everything changes. But first he must return to the beginning, to the original wound, to the child who froze and never left the room. That's where we go next, to the boy's room and the trauma he learned to call home. It looks ordinary, a childhood room, a bed, a few posters, a drawer of old toys. But for some men, it's not just a room. It's a time capsule, a trap, a tomb. He may not live there anymore, but part of him never left. Have you ever walked into your past and felt something inside you shrink? Not nostalgia, not longing, something colder, like fear dressed as memory. The man-child carries that room inside him because it's where his story paused, where the wound was sealed, not healed, where he first learned to protect himself by disappearing. The boy's room is not always physical, it's emotional. It's the place in the psyche where time stopped, where trauma whispered, "This is who you are now." It could have been the night his parents screamed, the day he was bullied and no one helped, the moment he cried and was told to man up. That's when he stopped trusting the world, stopped trusting himself, and began building the inner fortress. Carl Jung wrote, "In each of us there is another whom we do not know." That unknown self often lives in this room. It's where the child retreated, where he became too careful, too funny, too smart. Whatever it took to be safe, whatever it took to be accepted. And over time, those survival strategies became identity. The joke became the mask, the silence became the personality. The room became home. He grows older, he moves out, but the boy stays. He visits the room when he's hurt, when the world feels too much, when someone gets too close, because in that room, no one can hurt him, but no one can love him either. He wonders why intimacy feels suffocating, why he self-sabotages, why he starts fights, then withdraws. It's the room calling him back, telling him he's still the child, still unsafe, still alone. But he's not anymore. You cannot heal what you refuse to revisit, but revisiting is not the same as reliving. You do not go back to stay. You go back to free the one who couldn't leave. The man-child must walk into the room, not to mourn, not to blame, but to retrieve, to open the drawer where the boy hid his voice, to stand where he once froze, to say, "You're not trapped anymore. I'm here. I've got you." This is the beginning of integration, not becoming someone new, but remembering who you were before the fear. The door was never locked. He just forgot how to open it. And now, with trembling hands, he reaches for the handle, because the final step is here, to walk out, and finally, grow up. That's where we go next, to the last chapter, to the man who chooses to become, There comes a moment. It doesn't arrive with fireworks. It comes quietly, in the middle of an ordinary morning. You look in the mirror and realize no one is coming. Not the father, not the savior, not the version of you who magically has it all figured out. Just you. And the weight of that truth feels both terrifying and liberating. Because for the first time you understand, if you want to be whole, you have to become what you've been waiting for. Becoming a man is not about age. It's not about money, muscle, or marriage. It's about responsibility. Not the kind forced on you, but the kind you choose. The man-child resists this, because responsibility once meant pressure, judgment, failure. But true responsibility means something else. It means saying, this is my life, my pain, my pattern, and I will not pass it down. Carl Jung believed in individuation, the process of becoming your true self. It's not about perfection, it's about wholeness. It's about meeting all the parts of you, even the broken ones, and saying, you belong. The man who chooses to become does not abandon the boy. He integrates him, he protects him, honors him, but does not let him drive. He stops blaming, stops escaping, stops outsourcing his healing to someone else. He starts showing up. He learns to say no. He learns to say yes. He learns to sit in silence without falling apart. He begins to lead, not to control others, but to anchor himself. He becomes the father he never had, the guide he never met, the man he was always meant to be. And the world feels it, not through what he says, but through what he carries. A groundedness, a depth, a presence, not loud, but unmistakable. Do you know this man? Have you glimpsed him in yourself? The part of you that's tired of hiding, tired of waiting, tired of blaming your story for not becoming the author of your future. He's not a fantasy. He's not unreachable. He's already in you, beneath the rubble, beneath the mask, beneath the boy. So now you stand at the door. You've revisited the room, faced the shadow, mourned the father, felt the wound, and now you choose. You can keep waiting, or you can become. Not overnight, not all at once, but step by step, with trembling hands, with a quieter voice, with a steadier gaze. The man-child is not your enemy. He's your beginning, but he cannot lead you where he's never been. You must be the one. To walk forward, to carry both pain and power, to say, I will not stay in that room. I will build a new house, a house where the boy is safe, and the man is real, and maybe, just maybe, someone else will follow. Because when one man becomes, he gives others permission to do the same.